Alderman Kirkowski.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Here.
Dukenyak.
Here.
Tillman.
Here.
Gale.
Here.
Guzekowski.
Here.
Everybody please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Steve, you want to start us off?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Catherine, would you please read the notice of video conferencing in to the record?
Certainly. The City of Oak Creek is authorized to hold this public meeting remotely during the COVID-19 public health emergency. This meeting being conducted via Zoom video conference with telephone conferencing capabilities was duly noticed per the City of Oak Creek Municipal Code and statutory notice requirements more than 24 hours in advance of the meeting. Members of the public have been advised of the options for participation via direct mailing to property owners. This meeting may also be viewed at the city's YouTube page, the link for which was contained in all aforementioned notice methods. The meeting recording will be accessible on the city's YouTube page within 48 hours. When unmuted, all participants must state their name and address for the record, then proceed with comments or questions. Questions and comments may also be entered into the Q&A function within the Zoom webinar control panel. Staff and/or a moderator will monitor this function during the meeting and provide the information requested. There is one or more public hearings scheduled as part of this meeting. After the mayor announces the public hearing, staff will read the public hearing notice into the record, state that the hearing is open and subject to the meeting procedure above, and provide a brief overview of the proposal. The chair will then proceed with the hearing by making calls for public comment. Following the third call for public comment, the chair will close the public hearing and proceed to consideration of the remaining agenda items.
Thank you, Catherine. That'll get us to our first public hearing, item 4, and that is the 2021 executive draft budget.
Minutes, I think.
Oh, thank you, Ken. I jumped right over that. I'm sorry. Let's go back to item 3, and that's approval of minutes of 11/2/20. Everybody, please take a look. And when you're satisfied there's no errors, omissions, comments, or questions, we'll take a motion.
Clerk will move to approve the minutes of 11/2/2020.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Now we'll get to the public hearings. Item 4, it is the 2021 executive draft budget. Before I turn it over to you, Andrew, I'm going to have Catherine read the notice into record, please.
Certainly, notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, November 17th, 2020, the Common Council of the City of Oak Creek will meet in the Civic Center Council Chambers at 8040 South 6th Street at 7 p.m. for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the 2021 proposed executive draft budget. The purpose of the public hearing is to solicit public comment on the city's 2021 annual property tax levy and budget. This meeting will be held in person and by video conference. Persons wishing to participate in the meeting may attend in person or by video conferencing by registering via http://ocwi.org. Register prior to the start of the meeting. The video conference will begin at 6:55 p.m. to allow participants to log in. Persons who wish to view the meeting live without participating may visit the City of Oak Creek YouTube page via http://ocwi.org livestream. Persons requiring other reasonable accommodations may contact the city at 414-766-7000. Requests should be made as far in advance as possible. A summary of the 2021 proposed executive draft budget is published herewith, and public notice is hereby given that the budget detail is available for public inspection at the city clerk's office at the Oak Creek Civic Center, 8040 South 6th Street, Oak Creek, Wisconsin, during the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 4 o'clock p.m. Monday through Friday. The proposed water and sewer utility proprietary fund budget is not included in this notice. The Water and Sewer Utility Commission is expected to review the proposed budget at their regular meeting on Tuesday, November 10th, 2020. Dated this 21st day of October 2020, Catherine Reske, City Clerk.
Thank you, Catherine. I'll now turn it over to the city administrator for a brief presentation before public comment.
Thanks, Dan, and thank you, Common Council. This is the last stop, hopefully, unless you're going to surprise us tonight. This is the last stop on our 2021 budget creation journey, and I want to thank the Common Council, the mayor, and the management staff, because this is not an easy budget in the city of Oak Creek. It's complicated. However, I think we found a real groove with the process that we take every year to get to a good guidance document. This is by far the most important document that the council and mayor examine every year and adopt every year, as there's a lot of course, implications. Again, thank you to the management staff. I want to give a specific shout out to our assistant comptroller, Jamie Strobel. It's worth reminding the council that Jamie's only been in her position of assistant comptroller for 2 budget cycles, and last budget cycle she was on maternity leave, so she really didn't have the benefit of osmosis of our former comptroller. So Jamie has done just a bang-up job really learning through this whole process and really taking a lead in putting this document together for us. So thank you, Jamie, and Jamie, feel free to chime in. I know Jamie's listening along, and Jamie put together this presentation. She just asked me to deliver it, so thank you. Before we get into some of the specifics here, I want to remind the council too that per our 2017 through 2020 strategic plan, one of our goals as outlined in that document was to find a way, in several venues, find a way to demonstrate transparency in financial matters to our constituency, to demonstrate the value proposition that in the city of Oak Creek that we have here for our residents in terms of what they pay for their very quality public services. And one of the ways that we committed to doing that is going through a GFOA, Government Finance Officers Distinguished Budget Award presentation. This shows that we were awarded that award, Distinguished Award, in 2019. We recently, a couple weeks ago, received our 2020 award, and we will be submitting this 2021 operating budget for credentialing through that program as well. And that, again, is our commitment to transparency. There's a lot of criteria that go into that. And it's really about, again, the transparency is number one, but it's really about using your budget document as a communication instrument to really espouse the values of the elected officials here on behalf of the constituents. Real high level, I know council is very familiar with this budget and what its contents are. The general fund revenue summary, we are around $27.5 million for our general fund revenue. You can see over the years how that's grown. Taxes on the top line there were the biggest increase, going from 14.4 to 14.905, but you can kind of see those categorically where the general fund revenue summary comes in. General fund expenditures, of course, general fund being our largest fund. General fund expenditures, $27.5 million of total expenditures, and you can see the various categories: general government, public safety, health, public works, leisure services, and other transfers out. You can kind of see how that breaks out. So taking you back to the way back machine, because it really does seem that way because of the way 2020 has gone, way back meaning in June or July, reminding you of the situation we were in. We were in the midst of creating a COVID-19 financial mitigation plan. Things looked very bleak with revenues coming in very shy of expected amounts. The budget strategy really heading into 2021 was we are probably going to have a hole to backfill from 2020. And we were going to use a technique for an interfund transfer, levy that amount, and then replenish in 2021, and then replenish whatever fund we borrowed to make this year balance out. It turns out COVID financial mitigation plan isn't as dire of a situation as we once thought. We've reserved some additional capacity in our fiscal year ending 2019 general fund balance to buffer that a bit, and we have some cost control measures along the way. So I think that's going to pencil out. We're going to take a look at that as the year rounds out. But that was not the limiting factor on the 2021 budget we once thought it was. That fact, buoyed by the 4.82% net new construction, a really considerable amount of net new construction, allowed us to really accomplish some things in this budget that we otherwise would not have been able to do. Reminding again of a couple of our strategies. This levy actually fully funds the amount needed for debt service at $1,085,000. As council is aware, we've levied a flat $850,000 every year for the most recent history, and we are fully funding that debt service. And that, in concert with the TID tax increment district number 7 now being able to take on, because of the increment position it's in, being able to take on a significant amount of debt, will allow us over the course of 2 budgets to replenish our deficit in our debt service fund, and then the council will have that available amount, whatever it is over those years, that TID 7 is now able to support to do other things with, and we'll get to that in subsequent years as to how you want to do that. One of the more impressive things I feel in this budget, we were able to fund $4.1 million of capital expenditures. If memory serves me, I think we had only about 4.6 million total requested of all departments for all things that they would need. And with conservative budgeting, with being able to squirrel away funds for large unanticipated expenditures, whether that be large vehicle and equipment breakdowns or building improvements, we have been able to really, over the last couple of years, make the capital improvement process of this budget really quick and smooth, because we have some available funds to accommodate the most pressing needs. In this 2021 budget, I think everybody is really pleased to know, will be pleased to know that we are really working on personnel enhancements, specifically in the public safety ranks. We funded 1 new police officer, 1 new firefighter, and 1 new fire inspector. We're still working with the city of Franklin on maybe sharing that position, but right now we've funded that as a part-time inspector. And 1 new full-time dispatcher is still pending, and that depends on the outcome of the potential joint recreation platform with the school district and when that does or doesn't come online in early 2021. And we also are funding a new IT technician. We were able to fund a wage adjustment for all of our employees, and there's certain funds available for police and fire ranks who we are currently negotiating with in a collective bargaining situation. All the funds are supported by the tax levy are balanced. Of course, our overall budget is balanced as is required. And this year, our stormwater fee remained the same at $39 per equivalent residential unit. So there was no increase in the stormwater fee as well. Some of the things we had to overcome when we were looking at this budget: an increase in WRS contributions, $36,000 for technology licenses, an increase of $54,000 for the refuse and recycling contract that the city has. And just as a reminder, we are in the last year of that again, so we will be soon aware of what the next few years will look like through an RFP process for that service. And there was a large increase of $115,000 for workers' compensation and general liability insurance premiums as well. So we had to combat and overcome those cost centers as well. Again, because of the 4.82% net new construction, which was largely due to a large portion of the valuation of the Amazon distribution facility coming online, we had $1.2 million available under our state imposed levy limit. And we arrived at a total levy of $22.7, and you can see there how the general fund, the EMS fund, and all of the funds supported by that levy break out of that $22.7. There's a graphical chart of that. This amazes me all the time because the amount of debt service that actually has to be levied here in the city of Oak Creek is impressive. You can see that only 5% of our proposed levy goes to annual debt service. And as I just mentioned, we're fully funding that now. So that's really impressive. So when we're looking at the levy, that informs the tax rate. We're looking at a projected, and we always qualify this at this point in time because we don't know if all the variables are still in. But we feel that the projected tax rate is probably right around that $6.33 mark per $1,000 of value. And just for a frame of reference, that's about a 7 cent per thousand increase from 2020, where it was 6.26. So on a medium home, the city only portion of the tax bill, median home of 200,000, the city only, just the city's portion, the stuff we retain at the city of Oak Creek for our own policy decisions and services, is $1,266 per year. We've included this graphic in the presentation every year for a few years now, just to really demonstrate the value proposition to the residents of Oak Creek on that $200,000 property. That $1,266, if you break it out as a monthly tax bill, it's $105 a month, $105.50 a month for all city services, police, fire, library, everything you can dream up in the city of Oak Creek. And we think that's a pretty cheap date. We liken that to what one pays for their cable bill or what one pays for their cell phone bill. And if you can have an ambulance when you need it, and you can have a firefighter or a police officer when you need it, and you can enjoy our quality of life, open spaces and parks, and our library on down the line for $105 a month, it kind of puts that into perspective. So really, that is all we had. Again, very high level. Be happy to answer any questions from the council or that which may come out of the public hearing, but that's all we had prepared for you gentlemen tonight.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. As we are in a public hearing, we will make 3 calls for the public. This is the first call. We have nobody in the audience. Kevin, do we have anybody wishing to speak?
We do have a couple that are attending. If you wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand function. All right. No attendees raise their hand.
Okay. This will be the second call. Anybody wishing to speak, please notify Kevin through the raise hand function.
Nobody for that call either?
And third and final call.
No one for that call either.
Okay, we will now close the public hearing and we'll go to questions, comments from the council. Who'd like to start us off? Cam?
Thanks, Mayor. Andrew and the rest of the staff, just obviously want to appreciate send my appreciation for a great budget put together, obviously in very trying circumstances, especially given the way things looked early in the year. Good fortune of some strong economic development efforts and strong planning, I think helped us weather that storm well, and we appreciate the foresight there, being able to add to the safety services and some of the other personnel adds that'll kind of make the job of the folks in City Hall a little easier to serve the community. So we appreciate that and appreciate all the planning and the effort, and congratulate your staff when you have an opportunity.
Steve?
I'll echo what Alderman Gale said. Andrew, you know, when I first became an alderman and I went to my first budget hearing, it was like, it was quite daunting to try and understand what was going on, but you have streamlined the process very well, and we get stuff ahead of time and we take time to look it over, and department heads come in and talk, and it makes it easier. I mean, we just do the voting on the budget, but you guys do all the heavy lifting, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Just one follow up to that.
Yes.
We are blessed because we don't have a crunch, and we will be having a crunch. We don't have 4.82% net new construction every year. That's just not a thing. And, you know, there's some other things lurking around the corner financially that we're going to have to sort out over the next several years, the medium term, throughout the 2020s. So just remember the last couple of years, if we happen to eke into 2 budget workshops instead of 1 in the next couple of years, that's through no fault of our own. It just hasn't been as tight as other communities who are not growing really have to struggle with their budgets every year. So we're in a blessed position that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Chris.
I just wanted to, Andrew, on the 1266 that you're pointing out for the $200,000 for a $200,000 house, How much of that is up this year? And this is only the city portion only. Is it up or down based upon last year?
You know, I can only go based on the tax rate, and so it'll be slightly up. If you look at the tax rate of 7 cents per 1,000, that would be, if all things were equal, that would be the delta of this year to last year.
All right, thanks on that. Then also, thank you to also, you were pointing out Jamie. Yet when we had our budget workshop, Jamie was there quietly, but they're ready to take answers and questions. And it really was just a comfort to know that we have a quality team here for sure. No doubt about it in finance. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Anyone else? Greg? Mike?
Alderman Dukniak, 3rd District. What's up on the screen and on page 10 of the proposal, that monthly tax bill breakdown. And Andrew, I think we began doing that about 3 years ago. And as a freshman alderperson in that first year, what an incredible tool that was for me to try to explain to constituents what the tax bill really was and all of the services that they received, for that amount. And, we made it, or we compared it to a cable bill, your cell phone bill, for anyone that still gets print, the print newspaper, probably the same as that on a monthly basis. And all of those incredible services that a resident gets for that price. And I think it's pretty much remained constant over the 3 or 4 years that we've been providing that budget breakdown for residents, and it's been helpful for me as an alderman. So I think Alderman Guzikowski had mentioned a number of times how helpful that is in addressing constituent concerns, and I'm just glad to see that it was incorporated into the budget process, and thanks to all of those that were involved in including that. So thanks.
We do disseminate this too with our messaging of our budget, and as people come in to pay tax bills, that's probably going to look a little different this year, of course, but we do have that front and center as they're waiting in line, for some light reading material.
Oh, great, yes.
Maybe it takes nobody likes to pay taxes, and I think that if you look at this, the next question, an informed citizen would say, well, okay, well, that's great, but what if we're higher than everybody else? And you guys are familiar with that chart. Every year we gather up all of the tax rates for the municipalities only, the cities and villages only in Milwaukee County, and then the kind of the full gamut of all taxing jurisdictions by school district. And in my 4 years here, we've been the 3rd or 4th lowest in the city and village side in the entire county, and the 3rd or 4th lowest when you look at all of our taxing jurisdictions, including the Oak Creek Franklin Joint School District. So, sure, we'd like to be number one. That's something to that. But we fare pretty well here in terms of comparability in the county, for sure. And it's important for folks to know that.
Very good. Mike, I know you were going to say something.
Yeah, just nice job on the budget, Andrew. And I know you had some challenges this year because with Bridget gone, you probably put in a few extra hours, and we appreciate that. The number that stands out to me in here, and I realize the growth in the city has covered a lot of, issues that we have, but the beginning fund balance on the projected 2021 balance is way up. It's pretty impressive. And that kind of stood out to me as an increase over the 19 number with the 11 million. That's pretty impressive. Did you
in
want
your
to
packet?
It's on this.
the beginning fund balance?
Oh, yeah. Yep. On the legals.
There's a healthy increase there, which I like.
And you recall we had a pretty nice permit revenue from that one big project there in the Ryan
Yes.
Business Park. That was a large part of that, but it's also every year, the staff and the council and making decisions throughout the year, we always end the year with this year maybe being an exception because of the COVID. We always end the year better than break even. So we don't spend as much as we thought we were going to, and we usually take in a little more than we take in a little more through permits, activities, and things like that. So we always have the ability to add to our fund balance, and that's what you're pointing out. And then what we do is we allocate that because we have a policy that says you have to stay within this predetermined level. And we do things like add vehicle and equipment replacement funds and building improvement funds where that's where what we're talking about at the CIP, where it gets a little easier when you have some funds and some resources to take care of the most pressing needs. So we're going to continue that until we're told otherwise because we think it's a really sustainable budget approach.
That allows us a little wiggle room moving forward. Thank you.
Right. Greg, anything?
No.
Nothing? Anybody else? One more time? No? Not to be redundant, again, nice job on the budget. Agree with what all the aldermen said. It's really pretty impressive. We've been pretty blessed this year here in Oak Creek. We do have a very stable tax base, always have, as long as I can remember, even before I became a member of council. It was always very, very static and very predictable, and people like that, and people need that. I guess the one other thing I want to say is the budget's always put down on paper, and we do our best forecasting because that's what it is. It really takes people to make this budget work as well, and that's our employees, our supervisors, our managers, who are conscious of what they've laid out and what they anticipate, and they make it work, and we ebb and flow with different things, and this year was a real roller coaster, so it's really, really amazing we came out as well as we did. The growth helped, but we'll have to plan accordingly going forward, as Andrew said. So good job to everybody, and good job to everybody that made those numbers happen this year. Appreciate that. So that will bring us to consideration of the ordinance adopting the 2021 budget and making the appropriations.
Thank you, Mayor. Gail will move to approve ordinance 2982, adopting the 2021 budget and making appropriations.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukenyak.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye. Item 6 is also a public hearing. It's a consideration of a comp plan amendment for the property at 9141 South 13th. Catherine, if you would.
Certainly. Public hearing number 2 is to consider an amendment to the comprehensive plan, City of Oak Creek, adopted March 3rd, 2020, as it relates to the property at 9141 South 13th Street. Applicant is John Schluter, Frontline Commercial Real Estate, property owner, APA 9141 LLC. There follows the legal description dated the 7th day of October 2020.
Thank you, Catherine. Before we go to the public hearing, we have Doug Seymour. He'll give us a quick commentary, and then we'll see if there's anybody wishing to speak. Doug?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I am Doug Seymour. I am the Director of Community Development for the City of Oak Creek. And this is a public hearing on a request to amend the comprehensive plan for the property at 9141 South 13th Street from from business to, from commercial to business park. A little bit of background. This was presented to the Plan Commission in September of this year. And at that point in time, it was requested that the change be to manufacturing. So if you're familiar with our comprehensive plan, which was just recently adopted, we've got 2 different land uses that really allow for these types of business park manufacturing uses. Manufacturing, which is more your pure manufacturing, and a business park, which is things like we've typically done in the city, such as the Ryan Business Park, the Oakview Business Park. A little bit higher standards in terms of landscaping and screening, what have you, makes for a much better setting as opposed to, a pure industrial zoning, which would be something like PPG, for example, or Air Products or something like that. So that was the difference. And at that point in time, the original request was for manufacturing to support a proposed development at that location. At the Plan Commission meeting, there was a lot of discussion, and we can certainly go over that, and we've got several of the commissioners available with us this evening. And pursuant to that review, the Plan Commission, by a 4-3 vote, did not recommend approval to proceed with a manufacturing land use at that site. And the vote was 4-3, and that's notable in the sense that state law requires a majority of the entire commission. And since the entire commission was 9 people, while there was a simple majority there, a full commission may have at least would have been able to yield a different result. And with that in mind, in conference with the city attorney, we felt it was appropriate for the item to be reconsidered with a full plan commission. And based on that, the commission did review this, and they did actually recommend approval to the business park land use, which again was differentiate that from the manufacturing land use. Given that that was a little bit of a wrinkle, the city attorney and staff worked together and really wanted to build an extra layer of public input into this process, so that you'll see that there's a public hearing this evening on this proposed land use change as well. And that's not typical. Typically the public hearing is in front of the plan commission. They make a recommendation to the common council. The common council votes on that through the ordinance. But given the circumstances, everyone felt it appropriate that we be very transparent about what's going on here and to bring that forward to the common council at a public hearing, which is what is happening this evening. And we can go over some of the additional history beyond that review and why we're here with this evening. But in summary, the Plan Commission did by a 6-3 vote at that meeting in October 13th to recommend approval of the proposed amendment to the land use plan to business park for this property. And you can kind of see, I'm showing on the screen the history of the property. The property is just north of Steinhoffels. It's the red hashed area that you see in here. There's showing, again, this started off as an industrial plan development, which was superseded back in 1986 by a commercial plan development. Actually, I think it was the same one that American Madison, that shows my age, but I mean, that's the former store that was at that location. And then again, in 2020, parts of that were amended to allow for hotel uses on a parcel which was part of this PUD, but further south. And again, the comprehensive plan that was superseded by this one did show this as planned business. So again, talked about the business park. What is a business park for the comprehensive plan? It says groups of buildings planned and constructed as business parks for professional firms with a mix of office, training, research, production, and other ancillary uses. Business park uses in Oak Creek should continue to be concentrated in the vicinity of Interstate 9441, which obviously this one falls very well within the geographical definition for a business park. Again, here's the comprehensive plan, the land use plan. The yellow areas are residential. The red areas, the current land uses are commercial. The purplish are manufacturing. That's the Aldi warehouse that you see across the street. And the blue is that business park designation, which you can see for the Creekside Corporate Park, as well as the Ryan Business Park. With that in mind, this is a public hearing, and I would request that anyone who had any questions or comments regarding the proposed change in land use for this parcel to acknowledge yourself to Kevin and through the raise hand function of the Zoom chat, or if you're present this evening to acknowledge your presence with the common council. Once you are called upon and then give your name, address, and to proceed to address your questions or comments to the common council. This is a public hearing. Thank you. And there'll be 3 calls for public hearing.
Thank you, Doug. As Doug said, we will make 3 calls. This will be the first. And Kevin, do we have anybody wishing to speak?
First up, we have a neighbor, Andy.
Please patch her through and name and address, please.
Just 1 second. He's using an old version of Zoom, so it's going to take him a second to reconnect.
Okay.
Well, he reconnects. If anybody else wishes to speak on this item, please raise your hand in the Zoom function. All right, we have Anita. Anita, you should be able to unmute yourself. I will need your name and address for the record.
Anita Anashevsky, 10015 South Jennifer Lane, Oak Creek.
Go ahead, Anita. Questions or comments?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Shall I state my name and address again?
No, we got it.
Okay. I just, in looking over the proposal from Frontline, feel that this area, which has been used for quite a while, would be a great addition to Oak Creek. I think that one of the things I would mention is I do not want to see another multifamily apartment complex, in my opinion. And I think that the traffic would be something I would question as well, but reading it over, it looks like they have quite a good plan on being able to direct traffic away from where there is a lot of traffic already. But I do, as a resident of Oak Creek for over 30 years, think this would be a great addition to the Oak Creek area.
Thank you, Anita. Second call. Anybody wishing to speak?
Go back to Andy. Andy, you should be able to unmute yourself, and then we'll need your name and address for the record.
Yes, we own the property. My name is Andy Georges, and we're at 9069 South 13th Street, just north of Mr. John's property, Schlater. And I just wanted to say that I grew up in Oak Creek. I met John as well. And I think that it is not a bad thing to look for creative ways to utilize lands like this to benefit the city of Oak Creek and the city residents as well. You know, the farm income is really plateauing. We own the farmhouse and we haven't even been collecting rent from the farmer. And retail is in a very critical state. So, and it's giving way to e-commerce. So like it's the next thing is for things like where the increase in demand for warehouses and things like this. And I don't think it's a bad thing for anyone. I don't think we can bear any more residential developments at this point in this area. I think something different needs to come out that could provide more revenue for the city. And I don't think it's going to be detrimental to traffic or anything like that. Any traffic can be routed to Ryan Road, which is the most convenient. And it's really, I don't anticipate any issues. It's a win-win.
Great, thank you, Andy. Is that everything? I think he's done.
Yep, yeah.
And next up, we have Brittany. Brittany, you should be able to unmute yourself and name and address for the record.
Hi there, Brittany Balistreri at 450 East Trellis Lane in Oak Creek. Just wanted to make a mention that I've been a resident now for 7 years here. I really love living here. I have to agree though with actually Anita about the apartment complexes. Also wanted to make note that I think with the retail, that the increase of retail lately, I've been seeing more crime, and so that worries me a little bit. So I think that manufacturing would actually be a great idea in this location.
Okay. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
Also got Kevin on the second call.
All right. Anybody else wishing to speak? Use the raise hand function. All right. We have David Long. David, we'll need your name and address for the record, and then you should be able to unmute yourself in Zoom. All right. It doesn't look like David is unmuting himself.
Okay. I will make the third and final call.
I'm sorry, this is Dave.
We got him.
Can I go now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, my name is Dave Long, 10110 South Oak Lane. I've lived in Oak Creek for pretty much Oak Creek South Walking my whole life. My family has been owners of that land that you were talking about back in the 1800s. And I am very much in favor of this for better jobs. Good. I think it's good for the city of Oak Creek. I don't think it'll be a problem at all. I know John very well, and I think he's going to you're going to do a great job with being sensitive to everybody's concerns. So I am in favor of going ahead and changing this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, David. I will now do the third and final call. Anybody wishing to speak? Anybody out there, Kevin?
Nobody else raised their hand for this item.
Okay. We will now close the public hearing and go on to item 7, which is consideration of an ordinance making that amendment change to the comprehensive plan for the property on 13th Street. I'll open it up to the commission, council for questions, comments. Steve.
Alderman Kirkowski, 1st District. We don't often get people who want to make have developments that are not within a TID, so I think that's a very positive part of this proposal because, as we all know, once it's built, we get immediate tax gratification, so we say, from that property. Is it? Did I read it? It's still a speculative type development there. I mean, forgive me if I missed something in the documents. Is the hotel is history?
No.
Different property.
Different property.
Okay.
This is to the north.
Okay.
The hotel south of Steinhoffels.
Okay. All right. Then I didn't miss anything. So, but yes, I think it's again, it's not in a TID. It's a good thing.
Okay. Great. Anyone else? Nothing? No? Okay. Just very quickly, it did come through planning. The comprehensive plan, Doug explained it very well. What the discussion really happened at planning was changing the comp plan, seeing as we had just redone it recently, and it was an M1 designation. This is a business park designation, and I got to throw kudos out to our planning staff to take that approach. It gives the city a little more control over how that property is developed and what can be asked of it and things like that. So I think once the commissioners got comfortable with that, it made sense. It's not impactful to the neighborhoods there to the northeast. And traffic, again, we know 13th is going to change over the years, and we're conscious of that. So we're going to do our best to mitigate any traffic that's going on over there. So.
And in my district, this is my district, I did not hear from any constituents opposing this. So anything that I heard was all positive feedback. So.
And as the residents, pointed out, it's not appropriate for apartments or, retail's not exactly at a pinnacle right now. So makes sense. So with that, if there's no further comments or questions, motion on 7, please.
Kuzikowski will make a motion to accept ordinance number 2988, adopting the amendment to the comprehensive plan, City of Oak Creek, adopted March 3rd, 2020, for the property at 9141 South 13th Street.
Oracle, second. Roll call.
Alderman Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye. Item 8 is consideration of a motion to approve an amendment to the Personnel Policy Manual. So, is that why Judy's with us tonight, I think?
I know Mike Sullivan, General Manager, is on the line as well, but Judy can kick it off and we can kind of.
I wasn't sure what the order was going to be.
Pretty sure Mike's on, though.
Oh, yeah, there he is, bottom left.
Is this Lorick? It feels short. Good evening, council members, Mayor, Judy Rogers.
Pull the microphone now. There you go.
If I hold it, maybe.
Still.
Oh. Good evening, Judy Rogers from Human Resources. The first item we want to talk about is the personnel, an addendum to the personnel policy manual. There were some items from the water and sewer department that were not in the original manual when we issued it August 1st of 2020. So we went back, I sat with Mike Sullivan,
McRory and Darren Allert, and went through the items that we felt should have been included in the personnel policy manual. So you'll see an addendum there outlining all of those items, and they were nothing major. It's just a way of interpretation, and all these items they have been doing since 2012 when their agreement expired. So this is just a continuation of how they operate today. So it's not anything new, but we just thought we'd pull it all together in one place.
Great, thank you, Judy.
Mayor, if I could just add to that, I think I need to do a little mea culpa here, because the timing of the conversations we were having on the personnel manual, standing up that new personnel manual, and then talking about the reorganization of boards, committees, and commissions was probably ill-timed on my part. So we kind of had to wait for the outcome of one to handle the other. If it would have been that things were kept status quo with the way the utility was overseen, they would have continued on with this manual as well. So we're kind of sweeping up after the parade a little bit, but we are honoring that commitment to those employees who we're kind of wondering, what about those other provisions that we've been working under in 2012? This will serve as that stopgap to make sure that things remain status quo for them, because the overall intention of the whole personnel policy manual was, yes, to consolidate and make efficient, but we were not trying to go backwards in terms of benefits and things like that. So we wanted to make sure to follow through on that and make sure that this was clearly an addendum to the personnel policy manual.
Thank you, Andrew. Mike, from utility, comments? Anything to add?
No, sir. I think everyone, Judy and Andrew, spoke very well on this item. It is just sort of a cleanup item, and it's items that have always been in our manual for quite a long time. So yeah, it's a good thing to get it cleaned up and consolidated.
Thank you, Mike. Questions, comments? Anybody? Seeing none, motion, please.
I'll move to approve the addendum to the personnel policy manual.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Item 9 is consideration of a motion to approve the 2021 health insurance rates as suggested by the City Employees Benefit Consulting Firm. Judy again.
Yeah, this is a night for me. So in front of you, you'll see a rate sheet submitted by our benefit consultants, Gallagher. And I want to draw your attention to the fact that we have not increased our health insurance premiums since 2017. So that's 4 years where we've kept the rate static. We think that at this time, it is necessary that we go ahead and increase the rates to what they actually should be and not continue to hold them down to an artificial amount by just leaving them at a 2017 rate. So if you look at the Gallagher sheet, you'll see the amount being proposed for the police, fire, the non-represented, the line that says total rates without 2% increase. So that's the line that we're talking about as far as for the increase. If you want to see what that actually translates to for the employee, which is really the important part, what is going to be in their pocketbook or going to touch their bottom line of their paycheck, we're looking at an overall $26.34 per pay period as the highest amount, which would be the non-represented family amount. So in a 1 month period, there's 2 pay periods, so that really amounts to $52.68 increase. And that's after 4 years of having rates in the same place, so.
Questions, comments?
Could I just add to that, Mayor?
Yeah, go right ahead,
it's
Andrew. I
important
think
to
everybody's digesting it a little bit.
Yeah, sure. It's important to point out that decision over the course of those years was very intentional to leave that the same. You'll recall we had some grand designs on more unique things in the marketplace to help us control costs and in turn benefit the employees in terms of their costs not going up. Reference-based pricing and AMPs. We understood that had a very negative impact on our employees and really was a lot of time and a lot of mess, and we pulled out of that. And we felt that kind of reeling from that, we felt it was important to demonstrate that we were going to keep the rates the same in 19 and then ultimately led into 20. So we'd like to, of course, find a way to mitigate this cost to the benefit of the city and employee, but in those instances where we cannot, we need to do a better job of incrementally ramping this up and not waiting, 4 or 5 years for these increases. A lot of this has to do with our health insurance experience, our medical trend. We have some fixed costs that go up, but our medical trend over the last several years in terms of our stop loss has been very poor. And we are going to be coming out from that for a period of time unless we can get those high claims and high claimants kind of taken care of and dealt with. And that's going to be a concerted effort over the next year and a half of plan design options. And we're prepared to go back to the drawing board. We were a little gun shy after RBR and AMPS, but we are going to go back to the drawing board here and give the personnel committee and the council some options over the next several months over the next year to really hopefully take a dent back out of this and just re-strategize a bit. Is that fair, Judy?
Yep, that's good. Yep.
Steve?
Alderman Kirkowski, First District. Increases for health insurance are never a popular thing. I get them every year as a retiree, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I trust in both of you that you do the best you can, and I hope that the employee understands that rate increases kind of comes with the territory based on the cost of health services these days, and it's not that we want to do it. You kind of almost have to do it to kind of stay afloat in this part of the budget. And like I said, it's a tough pill to swallow, no pun intended, but it's I appreciate you doing the best for the employees, even though they may not see that benefit that you're giving them. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Anyone else? They may still be digesting. Yes, it is unfortunate. Again, it's been 4 years since our last increase.
Yeah.
Maybe it stings a little more waiting, or if you index it up year to year, then it just looks like you're nickel and diming. There's just no easy way to go about this. We have tried to do some things to benefit, and again, healthcare is very tricky. You talk about our rates and our habits, and it's all based on that. And sometimes we don't come out on the right end of the stick. But we have done some things. I know personnel has looked at different dental plans and or provided options and things like that to help cut costs. So some of the things have to have some time to have some growth and see what effect they have. I will say this, if it isn't going right, we definitely want to steer out as quick as possible. So, and we've done that in the past, not to bring up old wounds, but again, if it had worked, we'd all been patting everybody on the back. So it was great we got out when we did. So it's unfortunate, but medical costs, and given the precautions of what we've experienced this year, it's probably not going to be cheaper going forward. So it's probably necessary. Ken?
Dan, just from, Mike can maybe chime in here too if he wants, from the Personnel Committee's deliberations on this. We had a couple meetings where we looked at this and sought some additional data. Not only did we have, as Andrew mentioned, the stop loss activity last year, we had a significant number of employees, much more than usual, hit the stop loss, the $100,000 threshold. I know most folks probably out in the community are not aware of the fact that the city self-insured, city pays for healthcare costs up to $100,000 of claims per year, and then we reinsure those to a broad network of companies that take that risk for us. But a significant number of employees hit that stop loss last year. And this year, we saw a significant increase in the actual bid for that stop loss reinsurance, which was a significant contributor to the increase in the healthcare cost itself. You know, there's a target that the city has set in terms of what it wants from a healthcare fund standpoint, the balance in that fund. Given the fact we are self-insured, it is good to have, you know, balance in there, a couple $1 million to cover those unexpected increases this year. 2020 obviously saw healthcare maybe was a little bit, people put off their healthcare. Next year, we're anticipating people may actually be back into the regular mode of getting their colonoscopies and all that kind of fun stuff done. So we may actually experience a little more activity and expense next year. So I think being proactive and taking that into account, and then the fact that a decent piece of our fixed cost with the stop loss insurance had a significant increase. Andrew, I think of
35%.
What's the number again?
35% increase.
35, and the raw number is like what,
It was like
400,000?
it went from like 500 and something thousand to 7. And then, so.
A
yeah, it's
significant
100 and
bump in that
something
just
thousand.
fixed cost that you got to account for somehow. So unfortunately, it is, but we put it off, we assume we put it off as long as it could, that we have to reinforce the fund to protect it on behalf of the city and the community as a whole.
Thanks for the explanation, Ken.
All's up there.
So, any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, motion please.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the 2021 health insurance rates as suggested by the city's employee benefits consulting firm.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Item 10 is a council discussion and the direction to city staff regarding the scheduling of the 2021 regular combined common council meeting dates. You guys are all kind of familiar. We take a look at next year's calendars, and usually there's twice a year where we suspend the common council meeting, usually once traditionally in the summer and once in January. So if you take a look at the calendar that was provided, and then discussion can start. We proposed January the 5th as staff was returning from holiday to suspend that one, and also August 2nd, which would be the night before National Night Out. Typically we'd go in July, but we looked at the distance in between council meetings, and we felt in August it was only about 3 weeks versus July, where we were stretching, was it towards 4.5 weeks? So it was a long stretch in July, but I'll open it up. I'll give you a minute or two to take a look and start the discussion. I know everybody has different things going on throughout the summer, and see where everybody sits.
I'm good with this.
This is okay? Greg?
July 6th on the table or not?
July, it could be. It's open for discussion, Mike. If we took the 6th out, we would go from the 15th to the 20th without a meeting.
Typically one that we skip in the
Right.
July, so.
It stretched us in the 1, 2, 3. We just felt it was a little long to do any type of business. I mean, we could always call a special meeting as well, I guess. And that's also possible in January. Keep in mind, if we have business to conclude at the end of the year or something very pressing, we'd have to call a special meeting on one item.
Yeah. Comfortable with that?
Rich, anything?
No issues.
Steve, how's that looking for you?
No, and I'm good with calling those special meetings if you have to, if that's something on the table with regards to July 6th. I mean, it's the day after the holiday, so people might be coming back on the 5th or the 6th. So
Yeah, you're right. Most people will have the 5th off with the 4th falling on a Sunday.
I can't think that far ahead, but I think maybe a special meeting in early January is probably more likely given some things we have going on from an economic development standpoint. So that's my only concern. But if you're willing to convene if needed to take care of some business there, then I'm okay.
What you guys think?
We're good.
So we're eliminating the 5th, January 5th and July 6th unless we have to call
July,
a special meeting?
August, right?
Right, as it's proposed now, it's August 2nd, Steve, and January 5th. They're the blue dates. that are
Oh, I see,
circled.
proposed
Yeah.
vacated meetings. So I thought Alderman Tillman talked
Yeah,
about July
I would add
6th.
the 6th of July too.
Yeah,
That's gonna be an extension of the 3rd through, if somebody wants a 3 or 4 day.
So we're all good on the 5th, though, at least we're that far along. We're good in January. We just got to figure out if you guys want to do the July 6th or the August 2nd. One of the two has to vacate. That doesn't has to, but.
We've met on Mondays prior to National Night Out before, haven't we? So I would rather still meet on that Monday, August 2nd, and then have the July 6th be the meeting that we would may or may not have.
I agree. Yeah.
The only thing I'd like to throw out there is for National Night Out, a good majority of us are on the committee.
Yep.
So we'll be probably working that night, preparing. City clerk.
I jokingly say, well, that's only 2 of you guys. We still got 4.
Well, no, I'm just saying, to the mayor's point, we could probably vacate all the 3 that we're talking about, and then if something comes up for the January meeting, for the July meeting, and the August meeting, if something comes up where you have to talk about one item, schedule a special meeting.
So you're saying vacate all 3, the 5th, July 6th, and August 2nd?
That's what I thought I heard them say.
Is there anything stopping us? Melissa? No? It's just the flavor of the council.
It's a no nod from Melissa and a yes from, okay. I'm okay with those 3 meetings.
I don't have an opinion one way or the next. I'm pretty much around during the summer. I do my vacationing other times of the year.
I didn't mean to be nodding and shaking my head. Alderman Kirkowski kind of forced me to respond to that. I think the point is, I mean, it's good to get the input because if we're not anticipating the possibility of having a quorum, it's great that you're having this conversation. So I think that it helps us to plan as staff, and if we need to call a special meeting, we can do that. But knowing what you know best now for projecting a more typical calendar year, hopefully, I mean, I think that's good. So that's just my thought. Can you do it? Sure. And can we add a special meeting? I think that covers business that we might need to cover. So, thanks.
Okay. So
we'll bring forward a calendar vacating January 5th, August 2nd, and July 6th to the council.
Yeah, January 5th, July 6th, August 2nd. Okay. All right, we'll probably see that next meeting, I would think. All right. 11, Department of Public Works. Recommendation to approve a motion to approve the recommendation of Public Works Commissioner and purchase a single axle dump truck and spreader and pre-wet system. So got Ted with us, and he'll fill you in with the details. Ted?
Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're a little faint, but I got you.
Okay. Actually, because we've at least approved the budget in theory for tonight, we brought this up in front of you because these trucks, they have such a long lead time. This is very similar to the one that we purchased last year. Unfortunately, this one isn't already built, so we'll be on a waiting list to get it into Monroe, and that's why we brought it to you this early this year. This particular truck is a Peterbilt. It is through the Sourcewell bid process. We were very happy with the truck that we received last year. So we sought out another one through the Sourcewell contract bid pricing. We've been happy with the vendor. We could get it from any Peterbilt in the country. They would all have to honor the same bid pricing. But this one is in Waukesha. So they're close by for service needs.
Okay, questions for Ted? Anything? Any? I got nothing. Okay, seeing none, motion please.
Clerk will move that the Common Council approve the recommendation of the Director of Public Works to purchase one 2021 single-axle dump truck with plow equipment, spreader, and pre-wet system from JX Enterprises, Inc. in the amount of $181,888.
Kirkowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
And item 12 is fire, and it's consideration of a motion to approve a selection of the Center of Public Safety Excellence Technical Advisory Program for the Strategic Planning Facilitation Services. The amount of $15,120, and we have Chief Kresek with us tonight. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Tonight, the Fire Department is requesting approval for the selection of a vendor to facilitate strategic planning for the Oak Creek Fire Department. We were fortunate as part of the 2020 budget to be allocated funding in the amount of $20,000 as part of CIP for strategic planning services. Our intention was to begin that project early to mid 2020. 2020 being what it was, that project has been delayed. We are now projecting to start that project mid 2021. And at this point, we feel it's prudent to start the selection of a vendor to get on the schedule moving forward into next year. We really were looking to dovetail on the success of the city's strategic planning facilitation in 2017. Being part of that process, I thought it was extremely valuable to the community, a well-driven and well-facilitated process. And we certainly wanted to model some of that for the fire department. Our criteria for success is relatively simple. We want the strategic plan for the fire department to be community-driven. And the vendor that we would select, we wanted to ensure that they placed an emphasis on gathering that input from the community, the external and internal stakeholders, and be diligent in helping facilitate that input into the development of goals and objectives for the organization. On a more specific level, obviously we had significant interest in utilizing a vendor that had expertise in the area of the fire service, emergency services, and government. We felt that would be advantageous to us to bring that experience in and lend some credibility to the process. So recently we began to collect bids for the strategic planning facilitators. We put out requests to 5 vendors for bids for services for the Oak Creek Fire Department. We received 3 bids back. And of those 3 bids, through selection criteria involving perceived value, scope of services, time spent on site, and of course, final output, final product, we selected the Center for Public Safety Excellence Technical Advisor Program. CPSI's Technical Advisor Program is based in the fire service. That is, they're the exclusive agency that works with accredited departments. Early on in the process, we felt that we needed to go with a service that had specialty as an accredited agency. They are familiar with the competencies. They are familiar with the requirements of an accredited agency, and we felt that dovetailed well into what we were looking for the development of that strategic plan. CPSI provides a value for time spent on site. We do get a discount from CPSI as an accredited agency. Our recommendation moving forward is to continue with the Center for Public Safety Excellence Technical Advisor Program as our strategic planning facilitator. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Chief Kresick? Anybody? Ken?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Mike, this company, sounds as though you guys have thoroughly vetted the bidders in this process. Their specialty is fireside or healthcare or both or?
Fireside.
Okay.
Fire services. They are a offshoot of our accrediting body. So as such, you can imagine that they deal nearly exclusively with the fire service.
So how do you intend to balance the fact that, 85% of your business is healthcare related in terms of moving forward with your department? So.
And that's an excellent question. So, and I loosely use fire service. So when you look at the makeup of a lot of departments throughout the United States, a lot of accredited agencies, it's fire and EMS. It's fire-based EMS. So that emphasis is not alone on the fire suppression side of things. The experience is also with the provision of the EMS and the fire-based EMS services. Great point, and that is noted, but the experience, when I talk fire, the emphasis is also on fire-based EMS. So I hope that answers your question.
I mean, is this entity sufficiently broad enough to recommend outside the box kind of thinking in terms of, the regional stuff or neighboring community kind of stuff that we have to think about moving forward in the next decade or two in terms of services?
Absolutely. So from the perspective of the strategic planning facilitation, and I think this kind of goes back to the city strategic planning process a little bit, that facilitator comes in to guide a conversation. They come in to collect community input, stakeholder input from the externals and the internals. And they present that input to the strategic planning team for the fire department. They guide the discussion. So the recommendations are really driven by the strategic planning team for the fire department. It's driven by us, as it was driven by the city. They're there to facilitate that discussion, to kind of structure that discussion and move it into a certain place. So from the perspective of, are they going to be making specific recommendations? Probably not those significant recommendations. What they are there is to drive that conversation for us, to take a look at those external stakeholders, which could involve neighboring communities, neighboring departments, and the sharing of services, and then allow the strategic planning team to kind of build off those inputs and make the decisions moving forward.
And just an offshoot of that, I know you said you want to outreach with the community. What do you think? Because I've been at this 12 years, and I can't imagine there's a lot of members in the community have enough to add value. So I'm wondering what you can, maybe the people you should be looking for to recommend for you, or how do you intend on getting people who can be useful to your cause there to help?
We want a wide spectrum. So looking back at the city's process, I think it would be safe to say it wasn't a surprise to anybody at that time that the community involvement may not have met a level we were hoping for, somewhat limited in some cases, especially at the listening sessions here at City Hall. Something we are conscious of and are going to try to avoid. So yes, there's going to be a significant amount of outreach on our part to get out in the community and to get people to provide that input. The pandemic's had one key effect in this process that I think is beneficial, is that a lot of the consultants now have pivoted towards online surveys, not just the listening sessions that occur in a public building, but to send out and distribute more surveys. It's a fantastic idea, and that gives us the ability to perform a little bit of a wider outreach than we may with just inviting 30 people into the fire station for a discussion. I will tell you that our goal with this is to create a wide range of input. I think there's always that concern that handpicking people to come in, you're kind of, maybe not getting the variety of opinions that you might like. So our goal is to perform a rather large outreach, look for volunteers, look for input, from business, from City Hall, and the politicians to move this process forward.
Questions for Chief?
Thank you.
Okay. I have none myself. Motion.
Gail will move to approve the selection of the Center for Public Safety Excellence Technical Advisor Program for Strategic Planning Facilitation Services in the amount of $15,120.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Item 13 is consideration of a resolution approving a hold harmless agreement with the Oak Creek School District located at 340 East Putes Road. And we have Brian Johnston with us from the water utility. Brian?
Good evening, everyone. Working on a hold harmless agreement here. This is with the high school, and with the development that they had to do at the high school and the Performing Arts Center and the new soccer field, they had to relocate the street lighting out there, the parking lot lighting, excuse me. And the parking lot lighting fell into the existing sanitary easement and storm sewer easement. So staff worked with the school's contractor, found a location that we could all live with for that light base. And it's split between the sanitary sewer main and the storm sewer main. And this agreement puts the financial responsibility on the school district if there is ever maintenance or work that needs to be done on the sanitary sewer or storm sewer. So if that light pole has to come down, they're responsible for taking it down and the cost to put it back up. That's all this agreement is saying. So pretty straightforward on this one.
Great, thank you, Brian. Any questions for Brian?
No questions, Alderman Dukenyak, 3rd District. No questions, just a comment on the meeting agenda. Item number 13 is listed as a 2nd District action item. This actually is in the 3rd District. The high school is 340 East Putes Road, and that is in the 3rd District. And there are no issues on my behalf in regard to the hold harmless agreement.
Seeing no one else with questions or comments, motion?
Dukenyak moved to approve resolution number 12200-111720, approving a hold harmless agreement with Oak Creek Joint School District at 340 East Putes Road.
Clark will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye. And item 14 is consideration of a resolution approving the First Amendment to the driveway easement agreement with Guardian Credit Union located at 170 West Drexel Avenue. Brian?
Back again. Guardian Credit Union has had a shared access since 2004 on the driveway with the utility. They have requested to have two-way traffic. The original agreement was just an entrance to their site. The two-way traffic, the concern was that number of cars exiting from the bank could start backing up into the driveway area, and we would not be able to get vehicles into the utility driveway with the traffic coming out of the bank. So the original agreement required them to widen the driveway and widen their access off of Drexel. The bank has completed those construction projects this summer, and this amendment is just straightening out the language to allow two-way traffic into their facility.
Okay, questions for Brian? Steve?
Alderman Kirkowski, 1st District. Brian, can't tell you how happy I was to see that change because besides getting a few phone calls and relaying that onto the credit union, when it was a one-way street, one-way road, I can't tell you how many people I ran into coming out of that parking lot because it was getting really busy. So I'm glad to know the history behind why it is now a two-way roadway. Thank you.
Else? Seeing none, motion, please.
Kirkowski will make a motion to approve resolution number 12201-111720, approving the First Amendment to the driveway easement agreement with the Guardian Credit Union at 170 West Drexel Avenue.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Great, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Item 15 concerns engineering, and it's authorizing the issuance of a certificate of completion to the I-94 project and the construction related to the development on 13th Street at 9700. Mike Simmons, how are you?
Very good, Mayor. Thank you very much. So yes, this is of course related to the Ryan Business Park. This is pertaining to a development agreement between the city and Commerce 94 Project LLC, which is the developer of the large property out there, the Amazon facility, and quite a large project, as everyone knows. And so there were provisions in this agreement for all of the work that needed to be done in developing this facility. And basically, the main points of this agreement are that Commerce 94 Project LLC, which is the landlord here, they own the building and then lease it to Amazon. That basically the provisions, I actually have them here listed 1 through 6 on the council report, acquiring the large user parcel, completion of the site improvements, and all the ancillary improvements and adjacent road improvements, basically what are termed in the agreement as let's see here, landlord work and general infrastructure work. So basically, they have satisfied all of these requirements, and the agreement says that the city will issue a certificate of completion upon the acceptable and satisfactory completion of this work, and so that's what we're doing here with this resolution. But so basically they had to build the large facility, all of their utilities and all of their paving and driveways and accesses, landscaping on the site itself, and then of course all the really extensive road improvements to Ryan Road and to 13th Street, and then also there's a new city street, Bartell Court. That cul-de-sac road that comes in off of accesses with a signalized intersection with Ryan Road. So a lot of work. Basically took about 20 months from start to finish. A lot of effort on our inspection staff and our engineering construction staff, and then even hired staff from the DOT that inspected the work on Highway 100 and in conjunction with Milwaukee County 13th Street. So there are some certificates of assurance here with the council report. That is the WSDOT signing off on the State Trunk Highway 100 work, Milwaukee County signing off on the 13th Street improvements, a resolution that this council passed in July of this year accepting the Bartell Court work on the local road, and then of course the certificate of occupancy for the facility itself. So based on all of that, our recommendation from staff to the council is that this certificate of completion be signed and issued to Commerce 94 Project LLC and close out that portion of their agreement.
Great, thank you, Mike. Questions, comments from Mike? Anything? Nothing, not a Chris? Ken?
Mike, Ken, just one question for you. How do you go about making sure that next spring all their, I guess, the grass and whatever else that they've done now, which really didn't have a chance to the Sprout is going to be back in the shape we need next spring. You got the way to claw back or make them come back to the site and redo that stuff?
We do. We've got
All
a
right.
1-year warranty on all the workmanship. So if things are not filling in, we'll have them take care of that.
Great, thanks.
Okay. No other questions or comment? Motion.
Gail, move to approve resolution 12199-111720, authorizing the issuance of a certificate of completion to Commerce 94 Project LLC for the construction related to the development at 9700 South 13th Street.
Guzekowski, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik. Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
And item 16 is consideration of a motion to concur with the recommendations from Traffic and Safety. Is that Rich or Mike? Who's going to take it?
Rich, I mean, I can talk on it a little bit if you want. I think I should try and share my screen here. I've got a graphic. So I can introduce it, and Rich, yeah, you were at the meeting. I wasn't, but I can. I mean, just jump in if I'm misspeaking or if there's something that we need to add. But here's the. Hello.
Yeah, we still got you, Mike.
Okay.
I think.
So the first item was the no parking on by Cedar Hills Elementary School. So as you can see, as highlighted in red along the west side of 21st Street, this northern portion across the where there's some residential homes fronting, and then along the south side of Wood Avenue. And so this all was precipitated by the school district. You know, they're doing their school improvements now, and expect them to be ready for the 2021 school year. So one, if this no parking gets approved tonight, that would not be enforced until fall of 2021. And but what the main difference is that they are with their new with their site improvements, they are going to be accessing the building differently with pickup and drop off of kids. And right now they use this central driveway that I believe is going to remain in place for buses, but then they will be coming down 24th Street and then coming around the building, and then as they exit, they will exit out onto 21st Street. And so right now, where my cursor is now, where there is no red designation, that already is no parking, and it's full-time, no parking anytime. And the thought was with this new traffic pattern, that they would like to see traffic not parked up along both sides of this street. So they were asking if they could get the city to designate this no parking during school hours, basically 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. School days only. And that would be the south side of Wood and the west side of 21st Street. And you know, there was a good discussion on it. My understanding at the meeting. I'm questioning on how they came up with their with their routing of the traffic by one of the committee members. That's Rudy who is retired Federal Highway traffic and safety employee. So he always has really great input. School district answered his concerns as best they could, and they voted to pass this recommendation on to the council.
Rich, anything?
Okay, sure. I'll continue with a little bit of information. So yes, I mean, this is the first of two items that were brought to the commission. We met on November 11th to again discuss these items that were brought forward to the city. The first request was an action item that was part of a new student pickup and drop-off plan that was designed by the school district for Cedar Hills Elementary School. And as Mike had mentioned,
The request was actually made by the Oak Creek Franklin Joint School District. There was a significant amount of discussion in regard to this. Cedar Hills, that's a tight area for any of you that have been through there. I know, Greg, that you experience or you receive a lot of input from the residents in your area about traffic issues in that region. So the district has come up with what they feel is a safe plan that addresses the congestion in that area and also addresses some of the reconfiguration of the school campus because of the improvements being made there. Bottom line, after significant discussion, and information that was provided by Andrew Cromie, who is the business manager of the Oak Creek Franklin Joint School District. We had residents call in with concern. Their concerns were addressed and questions answered. So in the end, the commission, we did support the proposed installation of no parking, stopping, standing on school days only on the west side of 21st Street. So Mike, do you want to handle item number 2?
Yes, sure. We need to adjust my graphic here.
I have a quick question on number 1.
Sure, Greg.
I did hear from one resident, both these items are in the 2nd district, questioning if, I guess unrelated to the no parking signs, but those are being put in to help with the flow of traffic because parents will be going northbound on South 21st Street. Is there any concern that there would be issues now at the corner of 21st and Carrington, or cars backing up trying to turn left on 20th and Carrington to go north on 20th? They were questioning about other signs or anything.
I know that the engineering department was involved in the design of this plan, and there was no concern or consideration about traffic backup at Carrington.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there were, parents were picking up children with the existing situation. So, if you're at 22nd in Carrington or if you're at 21st in Carrington, you're dealing with kind of the same condition. So, but
thank you,
Greg, you're right. I mean, and I failed to mention that. I know that then at the meeting it was, there was a concern about as these vehicles are exiting the school, that they are to go north on 21st Street rather than taking that right down to taking a right turn and going down Wood and then that intersection of 20th and Wood. So yes, that was part of the discussion.
And actually, Mike, if I may add, there was probably more concern from the residents and one of our commissioners about Wood Avenue and cars not making that left-hand turn to go north on 21st, but taking that shortcut through Wood Avenue to get to South 20th Street. There are measures being taken by the district with signage that prohibits. Now, whether residents adhere to that signage is another question. One of our commissioners, however, is a member of the Oak Creek Police Department, and he had made mention that there probably will be some enhanced enforcement during the first few weeks of school to make certain that parents understand that they're supposed to make that left-hand turn and that they are not, they would be in violation of a regulation if they were to go straight ahead on Wood Avenue. So I would guess tickets will probably speak volumes and the word will get out that.
Why wouldn't they go on? I mean, if you're unless your kid lives in a neighborhood, why wouldn't you let them go on Wood and go south on 20th?
And I guess it's because of the clearance in that area, Ken. It's not a very wide street, and it is a busier, heavily traveled street with traffic coming off of 20th. So it was the opinion of the district and the engineers to route all traffic up 21st. Because if there's a lot of traffic on 20th and people are trying to exit on Wood Avenue, traffic gets backed up, and then you have what's the typical cluster And it wouldn't enable, as traffic were to get backed up, then traffic wouldn't be able to exit on 21st Street either.
Yeah, so folks that are gonna try and go north on 20th from Wood are gonna be stacking there.
Correct, yep. I mean, and we,
Greg, how do they typically, how are they doing now? How do parents pick up here now?
The pickup has been in the front of the building.
in the front of the school.
On Sycamore.
Did you hear from anybody along that street?
21st?
Moaning about the fact that they can't park on the road during the day?
21st, when I first took over, there was parking, and that we had complaints that residents weren't allowed to park because other people would park there, and that they installed some no parking, so some of that road is already no parking.
Yes.
This is just extending that a little bit more.
Extension of it.
You didn't hear from any of those houses north of that?
No, in fact, the ones that I have heard from in the past wanted it no parking.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I'd be kind of miffed if someone took away my parking in front of my house. But,
Yeah.
I mean, the school district conveniently likes to control parking when in a residential neighborhood. I mean, sorry, that's kind of is what it is. You deal with your own parking problem. You put a school here.
Well, and
That's the way
there's
I'm
somebody,
concerned, so.
no longer at this school since we've moved,
Yeah.
but unless they have great controls, if parents want to go down Wood Avenue, they're going to go down Wood Avenue.
And right, and that was brought up, and that was a comment by Commissioner Rudy Ums. This is, no matter what kind of signs you put there, if they want to.
Well, if there's no cops sitting there.
Right, they're going to go through Wood.
Yeah.
But you can see with heavy traffic on 20th, and especially if somebody on Wood wants to make a left-hand turn, they're going to back things up rather significantly. That's why engineering decided not to have any exit on Wood Avenue.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a messy plan.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge.
That's funny.
All right, so again, Mike, if you want to go on to the second item.
Yep. So the other, the other item then is proposal for no parking on South Orchard Way, which is that new road extension that goes through the Seasons at Orchard Hills, the new apartment complex. And this came with a concern from our DPW with if cars were to be parking along both sides of that road, it is not it is really just a standard residential road width, so meaning that it's 29 feet from back of curb to back of curb, which leaves enough room for parking along both sides, but then you're fairly narrow for two-way traffic in between. And given the fact that these apartments were designed with enough parking for, not including street parking, with enough parking on surface parking and in garages to accommodate all residents, that restricting parking on one side would not be a hardship for people finding parking. And again, DPW, their biggest expressed concern is, snow removal. And we know we have winter parking restrictions, but those basically say no parking 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., December through March. And, it limits their ability to clear the snow out of there. So as we looked at that, it seemed like the most logical thing would be to, if parking is going to be restricted, that it would be on that west side of the street, the southbound lanes, because on that side of the street there are several driveways leading into garages on those 4 buildings that you see along the west side of the street. And so this was noticed, and there was no opposition at the meeting per the report here that Ashley has put together. Rich, I don't know if you had any further input in the actual discussions.
Yeah, Mike, thank you. Just this second request actually came from the developer of the Seasons at Orchard Hills project. And I don't get in that area very often. Greg, I don't know if you notice it. I guess there's significant issues with improper parking along that Orchard Way. And cars double parked along one side of the street, cars parked the wrong way. So if they are supposed to be parked in a north-south manner, they're parked the opposite direction. And we had mentioned that that development does have sufficient parking for its residents and guests. So I think part of this might be just a convenience factor for some of the residents, or might still be some of the workers that are working on the project. But as Mike had mentioned, we have a representative from DPW and the fire department on the commission, and both raised concerns about the ability, as Mike had mentioned, snowplows can't get through with the way cars are parked there right now, and there's difficulty with fire equipment getting through. So, after discussion, it was pretty much a no-brainer that the commission agreed with restricting parking along the west side of South Orchard Way, and that just increases the safety for all vehicles and allows for, the accessibility for DPW and the fire department.
I'll just make a quick comment on that one as well. I have received one complaint, just to echo what Alderman Dukniak said. It almost feels like an extension of the parking lot. Cars are parked in both directions on both sides of the streets. It's a very narrow road, even for just cars to go by when both sides are parked. And there are a lot of cars parked on that street. So this is much needed, I think. I noticed that there's no parking proposed north of Colonial Woods Drive. I've never seen a car parked on that road. It really goes nowhere. So I don't know if this is in anticipation for something in the future, but I've never seen cars go even towards that little roundabout up there.
It is, Alderman Lorik. It's basically being proactive. It's like, okay, if it fits down here in the apartments, it's going to fit up in Colonial Woods as those multi-family buildings go in as well, because it's the same configuration of the roadway. And yes, we need just enough width to get the utility vehicles and emergency responding vehicles through as well. So it's let's just get it now while we get the remainder of it.
Yeah. Greg, no, you say there is a lot of cars parked there?
It's almost full every day. And cars are in both directions.
Did Tony DeRosa bring this to you, Rich, at Traffic? Who brought this? You said
this was brought to the city by the development coordinator of the project. So in essence, it was brought to us by the developer.
What do you think the problem is, Greg?
While there are only a few driveways, the two east buildings, that the whole front of the building that abuts that street are entrances. So I think it's convenient for people to park in front of the units and walk right in, versus parking on the other side of the building.
Are they parking overnight there too, or?
I'm sure most of them are.
Or that's new. It's going to be new to them starting probably December 1st, right? No overnight parking.
And again, it was discussed that this is probably a matter of convenience for the residents, but it doesn't. That convenience takes away from some safety issues for DPW and the fire department. And again, each of those residents has parking spaces within the development off street.
I would assume we probably built either in the buildings or in the parking lots enough.
And the way that cars are parked, they're just, it looks like they're just coming out of the parking lot and pulling wherever is most convenient because they're facing both directions on both sides.
I guess they'll find out real shortly if
yeah, I think that
because there's nowhere else to park if you live there, if you're already full. We see
there's room in the
lots. Place here that I don't know if we may be under parking these things if we're. I guess we'll find out if that's something we have to think about.
If these buildings are full, there's room in the parking lots. You can walk through the parking lots and they're, I don't want to say half empty,
usually
but
plan
they're
about
fairly empty.
1.7 stalls a unit, Andrew, or yeah.
And the best as I can recall from the developer's proposal, there is not only parking for the residents, but then there is another parking lot there for guests.
Yeah. Okay.
We really weren't concerned.
Right. No. There's a lot of parking, Ken.
Parking shouldn't have been impactful.
We see here the fact that whether we like it or not, there's a lot more cars parking here than we expected because they're everywhere at night. they're in freighter's parking lot. So we may have to ponder that a little harder.
And it's typically going to be one parking space per bedroom that it comes out to per our code. And as we've seen in especially even the most recent example, I mean, the standards that are out there for multifamily units, bear out that is the demand. And in some cases we're over parking. I think what you're seeing here in a lot of these cases, and I think it was brought up on many occasions, it's a convenience factor. I mean, if you have one of those units that are out on the west-facing units, and maybe I don't want to walk all the way around to get to my car. I'm just going to park on the street there. So I mean, there should be plenty of parking there within the development to accommodate the number of bedrooms as well as the number of guests. And I think certainly having that ability to park on one side would be more than enough to accommodate any flux in the parking generation for that development.
Well, they'll know soon enough, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Comment.
Steve?
Alderman Kirkowski, First District. This might be more of a comment or rhetorical or of no value, but I'm going to say it anyways. But several years ago, I was fielding calls from residents on East Village Drive about how tight it was when cars were parked on both sides of the street. And fire department came out when there were cars parked on both sides of the street, and they couldn't get the doors open to their truck unless they parked where there were no cars parked. And I got nowhere with traffic and safety with regards to alleviating that problem other than being told, well, it's an older part of the city, the streets probably weren't built as wide as they should have. Don't open that can of worms because we may have to deal with this problem throughout the city. Okay, so I'll let it go. So now we have here this new development, and the comment's been made, well, the street's pretty narrow, which tells me the street should have been built wide enough in the first place. You got cars on East Village Drive that the DPW would have the same problem there as they would on this street. The fire department would have the same problem on East Village Drive as they would on this street. So I don't understand why this street's being singled out, and we're going to put up signs to help alleviate the problem when I got nowhere on East Village Drive. So can anybody answer that question or help me out with that?
From engineering standpoint, Alderman Kirkowski, I mean, we push to get what we think we need for adequate road width. There is a balancing act that happens with the developments that are coming in. They're going to fight for every last square foot that they can build on. And I don't know. So we win some, we lose some. Honestly, we thought we'd be okay here, but it just has turned out is that they are snapping up those spots on the road, such that we're narrow along this stretch. And so we're acting. Yes, it's kind of a reaction. So I get your frustration with this. Here's where we're at. And I've heard the term saying it's convenient for these vehicles to just park out front and access their front door, and it certainly appears that is the case, because they're not even taking the time to turn their vehicles around and get them parked in the right direction. They're pulling in basically southbound in the northbound lanes of parking and then running into their apartment.
So I think to sum that up, I think it's a function of the behavior that we couldn't have foreseen, not necessarily that the road was too narrow. We had adequate parking for residents per bedrooms. We had adequate parking for their guests. If we would have foreseen this issue, if there were some reliance on street parking, the property to the north, which some of you are more familiar with, that's been being planned for years now, is relying on some sort of street parking from what I recall, or at least the latest iterations of the plan. So that would necessarily have to be adequate width. So I think I don't think we underbuilt the road here. We would have never foreseen the use of the roadway for the parking because of the ratios we were seeing in the development. So,
Probably true. Yep.
so we are correcting
So,
Okay, well,
for that.
then I guess I'll make a request that we vote on these separately because I'll vote one way on one and one way on the other, simply because of my comments.
yeah, we'll do. Hold it. Are we ready for a motion? If we are, let's do 16A first and then 16B, please.
Okay, Dukenyak moved to concur with the recommendations of the Traffic and Safety Commission and approve A, the installation of no parking, stopping, standing, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. school days only. The signs on the south side of Wood Avenue between 21st Street and 20th Street along the west side of 21st Street between Cedar Hill School property and Carrington Avenue.
Oracle second. Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
And 16B, please.
Okay, Dukenyak moved to concur with the recommendations of the Traffic and Safety Commission and approve the installation of no parking anytime signs on the west side of South Orchard Way from 130 feet north of South Cortland Drive to the cul-de-sac at the northern limits of South Orchard Way.
Oracle second. Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
No.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Yeah. Item 17 is the License Committee, and at this time, I will turn that over to Alderman Kirkowski.
Thank you, Mayor. I trust everybody had an opportunity to review the Common Council report with regards to the License Committee. 3 items on that form. Does anybody have any cares or concerns, objections, questions whatsoever? Seeing none, Kirkowski will make a motion to grant the various license requests as listed on the December 1st. No, I'm sorry, the agenda's wrong. It'll be the, sorry. We have different
11/2.
dates on the,
It would be 11/2, I think, Steve, according to the report.
And November 2nd.
correct. Thank you, Mayor. Kirkowski will make a motion to grant the various license requests as listed on the November 2nd, 2020 License Committee report.
Dukenyak second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
And item 18 is consideration of a motion of our vendor summary report from November 11th. Everybody, please take a look. And if you have any questions, we'll direct them to the appropriate person. Anything out of the ordinary from my point of view. When you're satisfied, motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Gail moves to approve the vendor summary report for November 11, 2020, in a total amount of $586,364.69.
Gail second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye. And item 19 is consideration of a motion to convene in a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute, Section 19.85, Sub 1, Sub E, to discuss proposed terms for a purchase and sale agreement for a portion of the property located at 9300 South Fifth Avenue and 4001 East Lake Vista Boulevard and 4200 East Lake Vista Boulevard. Ken?
Thank you, Mayor. Gail moves to convene in the closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute, Section 19.85, Sub 1, Sub E, to discuss proposed terms for a purchase and sale agreement for a portion of the property located on 9300 South Fifth Avenue, 4001 East Lake Vista Boulevard, and 4200 East Lake Vista Boulevard.
Let's go second.
Roll call.
Alderman Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Okay, we'll now go. We will now convene into closed session and reconvene at its
Gail moves to
conclusion.
reconvene in open session.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak. Toman.
Aye.
And any action to be required? None. So with that, we're getting to adjournment. So just before we adjourn, want to wish everybody a happy and healthy, safe Thanksgiving. If you are traveling, please take the precautions. Please keep in mind a few things will take place still, even during the pandemic. So at 8 a.m. Thanksgiving morning, there is a walk at Emerald Preserve. We ask that you bring some non-perishable food items for those less fortunate. They will be collected and taken to a local food pantry. And that begins roughly around 8 o'clock, social distancing, masks, everything that we've grown accustomed to will be in place. And also Light the Square will take place December 2nd. That is a celebrations event. They're going to light the square. It's going to be a little different this year. We won't gather. They will just turn the switch on at 5:30 the 2nd. This is exclusively sponsored by the Martin Law Group. We thank them for this. This is the first time we've ever done anything like this. It'll be a month-long celebration for people to walk through, take pictures, or drive through at their leisure. So please take the time to enjoy that. So, anything else, guys? Okay. With that, motion to adjourn, please.
Clark will make a motion to adjourn. Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak. Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Hey, good night, everybody. Thank you.